Hello, everyone. Welcome to HypnoTalk. I'm Troy Parkins, and I'm here with
Janna Troy, your friendly hypnotherapist.
You are looking very friendly today. Probably 1,000 times at least friendlier than you usually are, and you're very friendly. But I'm going to point out the color. I love the color. It just,
what's funny is I dug this out of the bottom drawer, and I haven't worn it in ages. It just got kind of lost in the drawer. So I was very happy to find it today.
It's amazing. I love it. It is your color. You know, there are some people that can't pull off certain colors. Like, I don't know about me in yellow.
Yeah.
I don't know. You, yellow, great, perfect. So
if it's got a little bit of green in it, I can wear it. Anything that kind of goes over into the greens, I can do okay with.
Like if we look at your logo up there, I like the green and the turquoise. And
hey, I've got some of this in the logo. I matched my birdie.
You actually do. I'm looking at that.
Yeah.
See, there we go. Must be the vibing high brainwaves for sure.
That's it. Birdie and I called each other and coordinated outfits before we came on today.
Good. And I love that you're able to speak with animals as well. That's very important. We will get to that in a future HypnoTalk because people do wonder about that, how we may speak with animals and communicate better with them.
Yes.
Good. Before we start, I do want to acknowledge our fans and friends and family and people out there who watch HypnoTalk every single week. We see the metrics, and I do get people reaching out to me, and they do have questions. Lots of people are shy, and they're like, I don't want to ask the question on the show. So they just kind of back channel me. So I acknowledge everybody out there. Thank you for supporting us. And soon we will be going to other platforms as well. We were just talking about this. So exciting times here in the HypnoTalk studio. Now, I get this question a lot, and I believe that we could even create a 10-part series on this. But now that pandemic is sort of, the pandemic restrictions are loosening, the people are going forth and prospering and getting the hell out of the house.
Yay!
People are coming back and they're asking me, please. I love that. Was that Van Halen?
No, it was some. I forgot to put my phone on airplane. There we go.
Okay. I thought that was Van Halen.
I have personal ringtones for everyone. So any song that, like when I was mad at my mother, it was Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, but I used it year round. Or that was my significant other, and back in '95 when we met, that was our song. So it's a Blues Traveler song. He doesn't know that was our song, but I know that was because it was on the radio all the time.
I love the Blues Traveler. I think my favorite Blues Traveler song is Hook. The hook brings you.
That's my favorite. That is my favorite Blues Traveler song, and they didn't have the ringtone for it. But my oldest son's name is Max, and I have the Get Smart theme song for him, Maxwell Smart.
Nice. Good.
Let's see. My daughter, I have My Girl by the Temptations. My son, who is number 3 son, is very enamored with Africa. He's gone to Africa multiple times and has done a lot of community service projects there. And so I have the Lion King theme is when he calls. And then my youngest, his name is George. So of course it's the George of the Jungle theme song. So that way I know whoever calls who it is.
That's amazing.
Now that everyone knows I'm completely out of my mind, welcome to HypnoTalk.
Welcome to HypnoTalk.
Yes, I want this woman to hypnotize me.
This shows again, I must say that you are a real person. So you're a real person, and real people do that. ringtones and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now I have certain ringtones for my ex-husband, but to avoid slander lawsuits, I think I'll keep those to myself.
Okay. We'll keep it at that. So now back to relationships. People are out and about. The questions I'm getting, hey, ask Janna about relationships. Let's talk more about that, more deep. I know we did
Yes.
one in the spring. We talked about relationships and
Yes, let's ask Janna. She's had 2 ex-husbands. She knows all about relationships. Let's go to her.
Hey, I will tell you, living the journey creates understanding.
That's true. That's true.
I've put the most common question that I get right down here on the ticker, which is people ask me, how do I find peace, love, and harmony? Wasn't that a song, Peace, Love, and Harmony? But that makes sense. How do I find peace, love, and harmony? Help. I believe. Okay, so I'm going to throw that one. That's a red hot, smoldering hot potato. So I'm going to throw that one over to you and ask you, what's your thoughts on how does one find peace, love, and harmony?
Well, you could have done it the way I did it, which was the trial and error method, which I highly don't recommend. That is, you get into very clingy, codependent relationships, build up tons of resentment, have a lot of fights, and then divorce the person.
So real quick, let's define what that means. I know that there are a lot of these words get thrown around, and sometimes people don't understand what that means. So what does codependency mean?
It means that you are basically hooked into that person for your pleasure, satisfaction, fulfillment in life.
Got it. Clear.
And if they're not giving you that, like let's say that they have something else going on, or they're tired, or they're just not in the mood to give you all the adoration that you want, it starts to feel bad. So that would be one. There's all different ways that codependence can show up, but that's the one that I think most of us can relate to.
Would it be that the one person expects the other person to quote unquote make them happy?
Yeah, and it works both ways, although it seems more overt and obvious in one partner because they'll be real direct with it. Oh, how we don't spend enough time together, and how come you always like blow me off for your poker game or whatever it is. And I know you're a poker player. That was not personal. It just popped out of my mouth.
I love that. It's always poker, bowling, some other softball maybe. There are a lot of,
Yeah, and so the one partner is always the one who's coming forward and saying, I want more time. You used to spend more time with me than you do now. What's wrong? And of course, the other one retreats back. So in the beginning of the relationship, there was a lot.
Why is that a commonality that you've seen where if one partner says, you don't do this, you don't do this, and then the other retreats back? What is that about? Why does that happen?
It's kind of a modern, like really recent, like just maybe the last year, where we as a culture are starting to awaken out of this codependent culture. So if you look back at the 90s, did Jerry Maguire come out in the 90s? I can't even remember, but there was that line.
I believe it did. You complete me.
Yeah. And we all went, oh. Even some of the more modern series, like I've been watching Outlander reruns, and she goes to the past to find the dude and leaves her kid. Like, okay. It's this thing of this, and I hate to burst the bubble, but we start to justify codependence by saying, oh, that I have, because there's usually a lot of really intense emotions, and they're almost addictive, like a drug, because in the beginning It's great. It's that feeling of falling in love, that feeling of obsession in a good way. And it's reciprocal. But a lot of that's chemical in the mind. But when we interpret that as love rather than it's just beginning of the relationship human intensity that happens, we don't know how to transition out of it when it wears off, you know? And if it's a long distance relationship, it may not wear off for a year and a half. But if it's someone you're seeing regularly that's in your close proximity, there's an abrupt shift that happens just brain chemistry wise after 6 months. And then if you're already feeling not codependent, and I wish there was a word for not codependent, but if you're already secure, then it feels kind of like relief to be able to go run off and live your own lives a little bit, and everybody has their own interests, because when you come back together there's so much to connect on and talk about. But you'll see in a codependent relationship there's this expectation of, no, we need to be together all the time, we don't need anybody else. And if one partner starts to go off and wants some space, the other partner gets threatened, and that's where these codependent tendencies rear their ugly heads and can destroy the peace in the relationship. And of course, then there's arguing. And I don't have to tell any of you guys that none of those arguments are ever resolved. They never go anywhere. And all that really happens is a little more distance, a little more craving for alone time on the part of the person who's been hammered with the needier partner.
It's very interesting. So we're here talking about relationships. We're talking about specific aspects of a relationship that could lead to areas that cause distress, arguments. The question really is, how do we create peace? How do we create harmony in our relationships?
Yeah.
We're talking about codependency right now.
Right.
Now, codependency, as you said, manifests itself in a feeling of, I guess, it's maybe anxiety. It manifests in this anxious, this person, perhaps it could be doesn't like me anymore. This person doesn't like me as much anymore as you did 6 months ago, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to somebody who has this conversation going on? How do you break that story and that conversation?
You know, I remember having this conversation before with you and our viewers about nobody wants to feel insecure. And there's a part of our awareness because we've got friends, we have role models in the world who would not feel threatened or insecure when faced with some of the challenges we're facing in our relationships, which means that the challenges are self-generated. So I work with clients in hypnosis, coaching first, and then hypnosis to ground that feeling of security in, so that they can allow their favorite person to go on a, you know, I keep thinking of lines from movies like Step Brothers, riverboat camping trips, you know, like
the Catalina wine, the Catalina wine event.
They can go off and do their thing and not feel threatened. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all codependency has to do with clinginess. Like some types of peace in relationships can happen even after there's been a codependent get together. You know, I love working with people who have been married for a long time and they've been codependent for 20 years. And they realize it and they're freaked out. I don't know, God, I don't know how to change the dynamic here. But they usually come in when they've been fighting, when there's some sort of a issue that will not be resolved. They've talked about this time and time again with their husband or their wife, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, and it's just not going away. And so then we'll do some work on eliminating the codependency and having the goal be internal feelings of grounded, of I'm enough, of I don't need that from them. I can let them live their life and not, how do I not be triggered? So we work a lot on desensitizing triggers.
Give me an example of a trigger. What could trigger this idea if somebody is in the codependency realm?
Like you think your spouse is cheating and you're pretty sure they're not, but your mind just gets stuck in a loop on it. Like there's a feeling of inferiority to your partner. I had that in my last marriage. I've been codependent so much. It's like when your partner has certain qualities that you admire and you feel that you don't have that, or your partner has a certain level of education that you admire and you feel like you don't have that, or your partner is more social, or your partner is more comfortable being on their own and you admire that. And it creates a feeling of inferiority. And there is no inferiority. That's just something we've decided, right? It's old, it's historical. It may have come up in junior high school or whatever. But it can really wreak havoc in the conversation with the partner.
You know, you kind of nailed on something that I got a question about this whole concept of opposites attract. Is this so? The question is basically, how do you create peace and harmony in a relationship if opposites, the people, say in the context, I guess, in society, opposites attract?
Yeah.
This sounds a lot like that. So please,
it's totally like that, but it's not a bad thing. I believe opposites do attract. And we end up feeling in such deep respect of the qualities that person has that are so different from our way of being. So let's take a simple example, like the other person is so comfortable socially, and we may feel much more comfortable in solitude. And both partners are in admiration because the one that needs the friends and needs the constant interaction goes, wow, look at my partner. They don't need anybody. They're comfortable being alone. I really admire that. They must be really secure. And the one that's comfortable being alone is saying, wow, look at that person. They're so comfortable socially. I could never be around all those people and feel okay. I've got to retreat and be alone because I'm scared I just won't fit in. So both are in admiration of the qualities of the other. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because
like
we can learn and grow together.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a quality in your partner that you respect and admire, we want to start to know that exists in you too, or you wouldn't respect it and admire it. It wouldn't. And so if we look at this idea of underneath, we're all one and we're all here to help each other grow, then if we have someone that's comfortable socially and we're not, or the other way around, then it gives us that knowing that we can have that quality too. But we don't want to go into threatened, needy. If we go into, I need to keep that person with me so that I can feel secure. We wanted to go, wait a second. Do we really want to feel that way? Is the only way we want to feel secure if that person is paying attention to us and is with us and has put us ahead of their whole life? No, we want that other person to have a good life. We want that other person to enjoy their friends.
When the conversation turns into, I need this person to make me feel a certain way because they're the opposite of me in this way, man, I think you have a big can of gasoline, you're playing with fireworks.
Yeah.
And then you probably, you're living in a paper house and you're just ready to explode.
Yes.
Like, that's just bad news. I like what you said regarding the difference between admiration. That builds the trust. That opposite will build the trust. And I also liked how you said on the other side is if they felt threatened, which then will create rivals, which I guess peace, harmony, and joy will not.
That's a trigger then, the feeling threatened. Whatever they said or did, or whatever they didn't do that you wanted them to do, they didn't text you in the last 30 seconds, and you felt threatened, that's a trigger. So anytime we feel threatened, anytime we feel jealous, those are triggers because they're happening within us. And you and I have talked about this so many times that all of us feel like if they would just stop triggering us, then we wouldn't feel this way. And that's true. But it's so short-lived.
Right.
It's not a lasting solution because tomorrow we can get triggered again. And the day after that and the day after that.
And Janna, we talked about this as well, that it may not just be a person in a relationship, that if you're triggered, something triggers in insecurity or something like that, it could also be in a friend relationship, it could be in a family, familial, or business.
Yeah. Many, many decades ago, I worked for the most brilliant man who had an amazing set of skills, but that person's management style was so controlling. Nobody else was allowed to outshine him. So instead of having all the best people that could do things that he couldn't do, which would be a good manager. You know, a good manager is going to say, hey, I'm going to delegate all the marketing to you. I'm going to delegate all the sales to you. I'm going to delegate the R&D to you and the engineering to you. And I'm going to manage all of you, but I'm hiring all of you because you're the best in your field. But this person, and it wasn't my ex. Okay. It was way before that. This person only allowed them to do as much as he could. There was a ceiling where he would feel threatened, and you could see it. If they started to have ideas of their own and have good ideas that he hadn't come up with, he would smash their ideas down. You know, and it was a shame because he was brilliant. But you can't do it all by yourself. So boss employee relationships, you know, but to have peace in that is to realize more, you know, there's people that can work with difficult people. And so we want to look at that too. Would it have been possible to not take that personally? So when we're secure, we're able to not take it personally. It doesn't bother us. When we're secure, the relationship shenanigans don't bother us. We're not triggered by it. We're not needy of it. In a boss relationship, I know as an employee for many years, I always needed to have my boss's approval. And without it, I was just, oh my goodness. Well, what if we were secure enough to not need the boss's approval? What if we weren't taking our work home with us and polluting our home life because we're talking about how crazy the boss is all the time? Well, if we're completely secure, we're not going to do that, you know? So it shows up in all kinds of relationships, this thing. And peace in a relationship is first, just only handling what comes up for you, whatever your triggers are, you know? And then 99% of the problems just fall under the category of that person is so eccentric. Isn't that cute? Okay. It's not about me. It doesn't bother me. I'm just going to smile and, you know,
true.
Enjoy
and if the
them
boss,
to whatever amount I can.
If the boss guy actually had you to work with,
no, because it was longer than 30 years ago.
But hey, this thing,
I didn't know any of this then.
Whatever. So he needed you to go back into time and, you know, I'm sure there's a story arc there somewhere. Hollywood is not original. So there is some story arc of a hypnotherapist going back into time to change the future. Anyway.
I do that with people in hypnosis all the time. And we sometimes will do an imagery where we take a magic carpet ride as our
I love it.
As our adult self back over there and drop down the tools and the information that that person stuck in the office needs to hear. And there's ways to desensitize the past so that, and then we pull it forward, help that person go, hey, it's not about you. He's insecure. So don't take that personally. You're fine. You're going to be fine. Everything always works out. I'm here for you. And you can hand that down to that person.
That's powerful imagery. And again, hey, this is a very difficult topic, and we're humans. So there's some degree always that people are going to have these insecurities or these not good enough type ideas. So because we love to give people tips, what would you say? And I believe we've tackled, I think, some areas before, very similar to codependency and this type of relationship. Yeah. But I'm going to flip it, not for the person who is feeling this anxious codependency or whatever. What would you say for the person who they're in this relationship and they really they want to be with the person, but they don't want to, fall into this, non-peaceful or non-joyful relationship? What would you say to somebody who is with a person who is exhibiting, say, codependency or, relationship type insecurities?
It's a tough love situation. For one thing, if this is a spouse and this is something that you've been dealing with for a while and it's a relationship you want to hold on to, you can certainly get into a good marriage counselor. That for sure. I know what's helped me the most is when I was the insecure party. One of the things that helped as I was starting to realize that these were my issues, it wasn't my partner pointing it out to me. That just is like salt in the wound. That would used to make me defensive. So I would tell the person who's in the relationship with the codependent person to start to look at your own motivations, because the codependence is also on the other side, only it's hidden. It comes in the form of a hero complex. I want to go rescue this person. I want to save this person. I want this person to lean on me. It helps me feel valued. So even though the other person who's not the needy one is seemingly safe and secure, they may chronically pick partners that are the types that look up to, I worship you. Oh, they'll attract people who want advice and that sort of thing. And there's ways to sort of not buy into that and to just remain really calm. And it's almost like giving a toddler a timeout. You want to not go there. If you can shift the conversation to something else, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's take a breather here. Let the person detach. That's one way to go, but constantly trying to reassure someone is not helpful. You want to be loving, but you want to love them so much that you want to help them overcome this chronic insecurity. Now, I'll give you a personal example.
Please.
1981. I had a severe eating disorder. I was down to about 500 calories a day over the course of about 6 or 9 months. And my then boyfriend took my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, with so much love in his face, he said, "Janna, you have a problem." Now, 1981, there was no such thing as anorexia or any of that kind of stuff. We just called it good willpower. You know, if you go back into the 60s, it was a tab and a cigarette and there was your diet. And that we wanted that. But
a tab and a cigarette, yeah.
Yeah. He was the first person to identify that there was something wrong. And there was so much love in the delivery. He wasn't giving me ultimatums like advice and you need to do this. He just, but I felt the love. And I said, I don't know how to eat without gaining weight. And I was right. I had destroyed my metabolism. If I had half a sandwich, I probably would have gained 10 pounds. You know, my metabolism was just so shot. And he volunteered to help me. And so we would make lunch. And I remember there would be like the sandwich and the piece of fruit. And I would have 2 cookies. Now, to me, this is more than I had to eat in a month, right? Mm. And it was scary, but he would just sit there and help me just sit with the emotions that would come up for me of the feelings of loss of control, the fear of not being thin enough. And I never forgot that. I've had gratitude for that. There was just a lot of love, but there was a telling the truth. He didn't try to control me or change me, but he provided safe space for me. But he didn't buy into it either. So it's basically, you don't have to have arguing in your relationship. I've gone right now maybe 7 or more years than that. I don't know the last time I had an argument with a man. It's maybe 10, 12 years. I don't argue anymore. When the peace in the relationship comes, they can be their quirky self. And you can tell the truth and you can make requests and they either will or won't do what you want. But when it's not codependent, there's a genuine love for that person and you want that person to be happy. And you want that person to learn their own life lessons on their own time. You don't need to change that person to meet your own needs. And that's taking a person like me who is codependent for so long and then shifting that into just loving someone for exactly as they are. And for some of us, we love our way right out of some of those relationships because their behavior isn't acceptable to us. So this isn't to say we don't set boundaries and we don't have standards, but we don't have demands or expectations either. And that's the key.
As always, big brain knowledge right there. Like super good. As I like to say.
I would say trial and error. And, given that the amount of roadkill on the relationship road of my past is significant. And if a few people can benefit from that, then I'm all for it.
And this is why we do these shows. This is exactly what we're doing. We are sharing all that knowledge that you have in your head there. If
you're crying on the bathroom floor, come see me. I remember crying on the bathroom floor.
And the way that you see Janna, look down below, click subscribe. We do these every Sunday. Not only are you delving into just what you've experienced in your life, Janna, you are classically trained in hypnotherapy. I was writing up your Clubhouse bio, and you have credentials as long as 3 of my arms. And it's super impressive to me. In the healing space, like I said, I wouldn't recommend anyone else but you. Now, I will tell our viewers out there, if you like what you see here, seriously, give Janna a subscribe. Find the Instagram's posted as well down below. Follow. Janna does these amazing 2-minute weekly videos that delve down on certain topics. I love your fun A, B, C, D topics.
Yes.
Those are awesome.
Brought to you by the letter A. We're using the
Brought to you
Sesame
by
Street
the
model of
letter,
success.
yes. It's absolutely awesome. I would say this, and I don't know, I've never shared this with you. The best 2 minutes, like seriously, it's like it's like when Neo got the thing in the back of his head and he's like, whoa, I know karate now. Literally, that 2 minutes, it's so jammed with good knowledge stuff. You can't miss it. So be sure to follow Janna on Instagram. I'm just saying, I can't say that enough. So, and now we're going to have Clubhouse set up where you get to talk to Janna on one-on-one. Like, you get to ask her questions. And the next few Clubhouse rooms we're going to be doing center around this idea of relationship, how to create peace, harmony, joy in your relationship. And you get to ask Janna about specifically what's going on in your relationship. So I look forward to that, Janna. That's going to be very exciting.
So that you're not crying on the bathroom floor.
Yes, I don't believe there are many times that I can think where results are created by crying on the bathroom floor.
It does not work, and
movie,
it's a shitty way
maybe.
to spend your evening.
Yeah, I agree. Why? That does not serve one's life. So maybe that's a tagline. Get off the bathroom floor. Janna's here to support you.
Yes.
So, any final words, my friendly hypnotherapist?
Be with your own triggers. Try not to figure out what this means for the relationship, whether it's going to last or not. We want to find peace within you first. Okay? Peace within you first. You want to use this shitty relationship you're in to transcend codependence. And there's no better way to do it than when you're hanging out with a codependent partner. So we want to make it be a blessing that you landed in this shithole that you're in. Use it to transcend your own triggers. Take your focus off of them for 2 seconds. That's the hardest part because our brain wants to go, but I want to know what's going to happen, right? You want to take a brain off of them, only work with you. You deserve that. You deserve, because here's the thing. When I said I've been decade plus now without fighting with anyone, have you any idea how much better that is than crying on the bathroom floor? It is huge feel better stuff. So I want that for everybody, obviously. So work with your own triggers, and then when you're peaceful, you'll notice 99% of your problems go away. I've had alcoholics tell me that when they got rid of alcohol, 99% of their problems go away. This is a thing I've picked up from some 12-steppers that I know. But when you get rid of your own demons, traumas, propensities to put yourself down and feel insecure, 99% of your problems go away. You're no longer plugged into that one over there for your happiness. And then you're just going, oh, that person's pretty cool. They've got a fun personality. I like that person. Or what the hell was I thinking? Either way, you're happy. You're either thrilled to be rid of them or you're thrilled to reconnect with them. But you're not scared of being alone. If you're scared of being alone, there's more work to do internally with desensitizing more triggers, because that's a trigger. It's an abandonment trigger that, and all of us that have had abandonment triggers, and I'm one of them, we become the most codependent people ever. And that's too big of an albatross to tie around somebody else's neck. You know, that there aren't mortal beings who can cope with that, not long term.
True that. True that. And that in itself is an onion to peel.
Yeah.
A very, very big onion to peel. And I know someone who peels onions quite well. That's you.
Yeah,
That's
that is.
you. So if you need your onions peeled, I can't think of someone better. See, look, hey, you know what? It just comes naturally. Like seriously, hey, I'll promote everything about you because you peel those onions, and I know you peel those onions. So that's my final word. Everyone out there, thank you for joining us. Join us next week, 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. Our clubhouse room will be starting up shortly every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. What is that for our friends on the East Coast? That's 2:00. 2:00 for our friends on the East Coast. So that being said, HypnoTalk is going all over the place. So
Yes.
thank you, Janna. As always, a pleasure, and it's been great. Peace.
Peace.